Today we're looking at a brand new and very unique city builder game called The Wandering Village. I'll put a link to the Steam page in the description, but you can also win a free copy of this game. If you want to do that, here's what you need to do. Drop a like on this video and also subscribe, and go down to the comments and let me know one thing that you like or dislike the look of about the game based on this video. So let's jump into a brand new game and take a look at what this is like and how it feels to play this game to see whether or not you may be interested. So new game down here, and the first thing we have here is of course the difficulty settings. So basically you've got like easy, medium and hard difficulty, and once you've selected one of those you can also customize the difficulty down here. And these are the options that we have. So the villagers don't die, Ombu doesn't die, or no manual saving is allowed, so you'd have to rely on autosaves. I won't select any of these for this video, I'm just making you aware of them. As for the Ombu, we're going to show you what that is in just a second. So let's go back, we should do the medium difficulty right here and just call it review for the review video, and let's go ahead and start the game. Okay, so I'll pause the game here. This is the first thing that you see, which is just a few people stood on a bit of grass, but if you scroll out a little bit using your mouse wheel, you can see a lot more. And you can also use WAS and have a little look around, and as you see, things start to get interesting at that point. And if you keep scrolling out, then you see the Ombu. So this is what really makes this game unique and very interesting, is the Ombu, which is this creature right here, of which we're building the town on top of up here, and thus the name The Wandering Village. The Ombu will wander around while you build your village on top of it, and of course that can wander into different types of events and environments, all of which you'll have to deal with. If we continue to scroll out, then we get this view right here. So you can see there's our Ombu, and this is the trail that he's currently on, and this is all of the world map that we can see right now with different locations and events and things that can happen along the way. Once you're traveling through the world for a while, you'll also find that the road will occasionally come to crossroads, and depending on your relationship that you build with your Ombu, you'll be able to ask him to go in certain directions, and he may or may not listen. So zooming right back in, let's have a little look at the general gameplay of this. You can see that if we zoom right in, we get a very close-up view of our characters and our starting resources. So you've got the 2D element here with the graphics and things, and you're not able to sort of rotate. You can move around, but you're always going to have the same view, and it's the same with buildings, which we will come on to, but essentially all that is laid out for you, and your challenge is about beating the environment. In terms of the environment, you'll see there's all different things up here, from trees and rocks and little thorns and things like that, and of course this is how you gather resources. But everything you do in this game is very linked to your Ombu. For example, these things right here, they will give you the rocks if you harvest them, but as you see at the top, they're actually called Ombu spikes. And as it says here, you'll reduce your Ombu trust because you actually hurt your Ombu when you mine these things. So you're constantly having to weigh up whether things are beneficial to you and your city as well as to the Ombu. And in the top right of the screen right here, I'll zoom in on this for you, but basically what we have is Ombu stats like his sleepiness, his hunger, and also the poison level. And then you have the Ombu health there shown in green, and right now obviously you start at 100%. So this is just a really unique thing because throughout the city builder game, you're actually taking care of a city and a giant Ombu creature, which is kind of fun. Now in terms of the gameplay itself, let's jump into a bit of that, and we got obviously our usual suspects from any city builder game where you've got the resources shown in the top left, and you've got build menus down here at the bottom. For early accommodation, you're going to want to build some tents, and none of the buildings can be rotated. As I said before, rotation's not really a thing in this game. We've got our view, and our challenge is more about beating the environment than making things look super pretty. That being said, although the graphics are of course cartoony, I do kind of like them. They're very friendly and easy on the eye, and make this game quite fun and sort of a very relaxing game to play in my experience so far. So let's just go ahead and make up a little settlement around here, and when we're placing these down, we can just hold down shift to place multiple at a time. So let's do like this, and there we go, we got like 6 tents placed down. Up here we can of course play and set different speeds up to 4 times for the villagers to move around at and for things to happen at. And the buildings themselves, again, you can prioritize to different degrees. So you've actually got 3 levels of priority that you can put on here, and you can also like cancel builds and disable the buildings output and stuff, which is more useful for production buildings and things, but still it's something you can do for all buildings in the game. Of course, you're also going to need to gather yourself resources and things. So for example, food is always important early on in these city builder games, and we're going to do that with a berry gatherer. When building this, if I hover before placing it, gives me an efficiency percentage, so you can sort of go around and see where the best place to place it is, and it also highlights all the berries in the area to give you a good idea. So it looks like 45% is our best. We're going to go ahead and build that one down there, and they'll get on with building that, and then of course gathering the food. You also have your population happiness and information up here that we can click on, and it gives us an overview of the town. It seems the biggest thing that affects happiness in this game is all about housing and food production, so it's not something that seems super challenging, certainly in the early part of this game. You can of course also build roads in, so you can, just like any other city builder, get a bit of a grid pattern going on if that's your thing, and you have things like the worker posts and also research buildings. We're going to go ahead and place down a research building, as the research tree is interesting to look at. I think as any city builder that has a research element to it, definitely something we want to keep an eye on. There are some unique things in this game as well. being on top of the Ombu that sort of adds to this, but for example, you have an air well. So rather than a well that sort of digs down into the land to get water, this actually gets your citizens water from the air. Of course, that's a building we're going to want to build early on, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Now you'll see here that we're not able to build anything at the moment because we need to go ahead and harvest resources. So we can just press H and just drag and drop over the resources that we want to harvest. If you accidentally select the resources you don't want to, you can also cancel this as well. So again, just those sort of general features that we enjoy in city builder games are all here. One thing I have noticed about this particular city builder is being on the back of the Ombu, we do have a reasonably limited space relative to some of the other city builders you would have played, where you can go far and wide to gather your resources. This makes the integration with the world map even more important, because later on in the game you can actually send out scavengers from your Ombu to nearby points of interest. These scavengers will go off and gather resources, including rare resources and things you can only get by going off onto these special areas rather than things you can get from being on your Ombu. This adds a whole new exploration element to the game that you could only really do in a game that is set in this way, where you're sort of constantly moving with your city. So that is a really interesting thing to look at. In terms of the in-game tutorials that will help you through, you do have this book right here, the Elder's Notebook, and this has a vast amount of information on just about everything you could possibly want to know in the game. I really like it when they have that in city builders personally, because if you ever get stuck on something, you can simply open the book and find the information without having to leave the game and go on to Google. Okay, the research hut has been built, so let's have a look at the research in this game. And again, I think this is always an important part of any city builder game that includes a research tree. So at the top here, you've got a village, you've got resources, and you've got Ombu. So again, they've got an Ombu integration for this, which I think is a great idea. And obviously this research all relates to the Ombu, of course. Now you'll see here that you can choose different directions to go in, and obviously this research will unlock these, this one will unlock these, and so on and so forth. And there is a reasonable amount of research. I think this is something they could potentially add to throughout the game. Of course, this game is still in early access and has only just come out, so it's still like in early development and probably has a lot to be added. So to do the research, if you select your research building here, you just go to the research tree and then you choose something. So we'll just choose the kitchen for now, and then once we've selected that, it starts to do the research. So then you can see here we've got these two scientists that are working on this, and this is the research that they're doing. And obviously if you have two, it'll go faster than if you just had the one. So pretty intuitive and a nice way of having a bit of research in the game, which I think is always good in a city builder. One nice thing about the research in this game as well is you can actually queue the research. So if I know that after kitchen I want to go ahead and do the village doctor, I can shift and click, and that'll be the next thing we do at number 1. And then if I wanted to do the decontaminator after that, I could shift click again, and that goes to number 2. Then I might say, you know what, after that, let's do the cactus, and it's all shown for you. And you can shift click again to remove it. So it's very user friendly and very intuitive way of adding research, where you can come here every now and again rather than having to keep coming back after every single research. Now, of course, farming is an important part of any city builder game, and this is no different. So if we go ahead and place down a farm here, I'm going to go ahead and prioritize that build and then show you how we do farming. So with your farm built, you'll need to add plots, and basically you can see the areas around here where you can do the farming, and you can just drag out the areas that you want to do the farming in. So this is quite nice because it allows you to make your farms as big or as small as you want, depending on the stage of the game you're at and obviously what your requirements are. We do of course have production buildings as well, and the two that you start with are carpenters and stone cutters. So you do get into the industry in this game where you're turning resources like the raw resources such as stone and wood into more useful resources. And it does have a nice progression feel to it, where you do start very small, but you unlock a lot of buildings and a lot of new features as you play through the game. You'll also get these events up here, so we can click on this event right here, and it can be different things each time. Of course, this one right here are nomads looking for a new home, and this adds a nice random element to the game, and basically you have decisions to make at different points, so it's kind of nice to have that, and you never know what's going to happen next, and obviously this can sometimes benefit you. And then we're just going to go ahead and we can either pick them up, we can send them away, and then we either commit to the decision or postpone it. And if we postpone it, you'll see there's a little timer here that counts down on the outside. So as this circle goes down, eventually it will just go away, but you're better off making the decision yourself, of course. So we're going to go ahead and pick these people up. And when you do that, it then gives you this screen right here, and you see this time we have 2 healthy people that joined our village. However, you could end up with some poison people joining your village too. So again, you never know quite what's going to happen, and that random element and that challenge element that's added into the game through that feature is really fun as you play through. One nice thing as well, as the Ombu is walking, you can actually scroll out and see what he's up to. So they've done the animation of that, and the sort of village moves around. Even if we go back into the town, you'll see that the movement on the outside is there, but it's done in a really good way. We can still get on with our building if we want to, but it's that immersiveness of seeing the sides moving here, and we know that we're on the move and the Ombu is walking around. The other features that are similar to other city builder games are things like you can add and remove workers, I mentioned before, but you can disable buildings, and you can of course deconstruct buildings as well. The deconstruction process is very quick, and you do get the materials back for it. They just drop on the ground here, and then your people have to pick them back up. And you can even prioritize the picking up of resources if that's something you want to do. You'll also get little things like this right here, these little statuses up in the top right. And right now, for example, we're in a fresh air area, so obviously that's a good place to be, but these can be negative as well. Now, the idea of today's video, guys, was to give you a very quick little overview about this new game, and I am going to be making more videos and tutorials on this game coming up, so if you want to get more in-depth feel, then you can watch those. But for now, I just wanted to give you a little overview, a little feel of this game, and essentially this is a city builder game that has a real difference to it with the fact that we're constantly moving around. So for me personally, I would say this game is definitely worth a buy if you're into these sort of games. It is a very unique game and it's been really fun to play so far. I've been really enjoying it. Of course, if you want to try and get this game for free, then you can just subscribe, like, and leave a comment, and the winner will be picked very shortly after this video. I'll try and do it within the first 24 hours after its release. But for now, I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.